Are you ready to take the family, like the whole family, to Ireland? In today's podcast, I'm sharing advice for multi-generational travel to the Emerald Isle. Of all the trips that I assist with, I think multi-generational vacations, if they're not my favorite, they are way up there. First, I love knowing that I'm helping extended families kind of create that trip of a lifetime, that one that the grandkids are going to remember and be able to talk about with their own grandkids. Any child grandparent interaction is so special. And then when you kind of toss in the magic of Ireland, you just know. I mean, it deep in your gut, you know it's going to be amazing. And just, kind of as an aside, it's really great for the parents because they might get to enjoy a child free night or two as well, which can never be underestimated. But I think more fun for me even is to help the family choose just those perfect accommodations and attractions and places to visit that are going to fit the interests as a group while making sure that the trip isn't, too much kid stuff or too many boring adult things. Just creating that perfect blend that is going to be that trip of a lifetime that, the grandparents have been looking forward to for their grandkids to be old enough. And gosh, I love having that feeling that I've helped make memories. Now, smaller groups are obviously easier to make plans for. Everything from accommodations to transportation is just it's simpler with fewer people. But even if you have a large family group, you're going to find plenty of options. It just takes a little extra planning to make things run smoothly. If you've heard about the Cliffs of Moher walk, and that is something that you really want to experience, I want to make sure that you know about my friend Ollie because he leads one of the most fun and informative hikes from Doolin to the Cliffs of Moher. Ollie, do you want to tell them about it?
I absolutely do, Jody, and I loved your description, the Cliffs of Moher walk. I often hear the Cliffs of Moher tour, the Cliffs of Moher experience. What these people are going to be booking is a Cliffs of Moher adventure. And by God, they're going to get one because this trail is an adventure. We do it from Doolin. It starts on like near close to sea level. We hike all the way up to the top of the Cliffs of Moher by O'Brien's Tower. You'll see views of the Cliffs of Moher that less than 3% of people ever get to see. We go up. There's about 4 hills on this, okay? And in between those hills, it's reasonably flat. And every corner you turn, the views get more and more and more breathtaking. We take you along 38 different farmers' fields. We fill you with the folklore and the history that makes the Cliffs of Moher as famous as they are today, and it'll take your breath away. Our tours are available every single day from Doolin and from Galway, and we do public and private tours. So if you're interested, visit my website at olliestours.com or even follow me on Instagram to see all our shenanigans. Woohoo!
Don't forget to mention that you heard about Ollie's tours on the Traveling in Ireland podcast. For booking and more information, visit IrelandFamilyVacations.com/Ollie, OLLIE. So, in today's podcast, I'm sharing tips for stress free, well, as stress free as possible anyway, multi generational travel in Ireland. And I'm going to go through these step by step. As you know, if you listen to the podcast, all of the links and additional information you need are going to be found in the show notes, and you're going to find those in your podcast player. Just open up the text, find the link, and click over. The first thing I'm going to touch on is transportation to Ireland because families are spread out now. People may be coming from different airports. They may be coming in at different times of the day. So if everyone is arriving on the same flight, y'all met up at the airport in the US or Canada that you're leaving from, then you don't need to concentrate on this quite so much. But if everybody's coming in on different flights, you're going to want to have a way to keep track of arrivals, whether it's in your phone calendar, a notes app, listed on your travel documents, or tracked in something like the My Ireland Vacation Planner and Journal. You want to have those notes available. You want to know when flights are coming in. You want to know flight numbers in case anybody's delayed. You can keep kind of track of when everybody should be arriving and know if there's going to be a hitch in your plans. Once you know when everybody's coming in, you're going to decide if everyone's going to wait at the airport until the entire group has arrived. Maybe there's a nearby spot that will make a good meeting point if you have a few hours in between arrivals. Little tip for you. Malahide Castle and Gardens is a terrific option near Dublin Airport. It's only about 10 minutes from the airport, and you've got everything from a terrific playground and acres of land to explore to a castle you can tour and the gardens that are also attached. So, and a pretty terrific place to eat in the on-site Avoca. So plenty of options there. If you're arriving into Shannon Airport and you need something to take up a few hours of time, Bunratty Castle and Folk Park isn't very far. You're going to have the castle, the folk park with the housing, the animals, all of those beautiful things, and a few places to get some food. All right, the next thing you need to think about is transportation around Ireland. Now, this is something you want to think about pretty in depth, especially with larger groups. A few things to keep in mind when you are making these plans. For groups of 6 or more, you might find that hiring a driver guide is the least stressful choice. You'll have a professional to handle the driving, and your tour group can all be together, and you're going to find everything, size wise, from sprinters and minivans. If your group is 5 to 6, then you go up to a sprinter. Maybe you move up to a tourist, which will take up to 16, and there are even larger buses. So there's plenty of options for large groups. If you do opt to self-drive, consider how many vehicles you're going to need for your group. At a minimum, like the bare minimum, it's going to be one vehicle per 5 people. But you don't want to forget about luggage, because the boot space in most of the cars you're going to get is limited. So if everybody's bringing a checked bag, it's going to be closer to one vehicle for 4 people, maybe even less depending on the bag size. So you want to make sure that you are checking not only how many people can fit in a vehicle, but how much luggage. I know that we rented a 9-passenger vehicle this last autumn, but it would only hold 5 suitcases. So of the 8 people we had traveling, I allowed one medium-sized check bag per person, one carry-on size, and then everybody could have their own personal item as well. So I'll think of it like when you're checking into the airplane. You have your checked bag, your carry-on bag, and then your personal item. Well, it was one checked bag, one carry-on bag, and each person could get a personal item. So that everything fit, but it was really tight. And then you also want to think about how much time your group is going to spend together, and if there's a possibility that you might split up, so that when you're planning your activities, you're keeping everybody's interests in mind, and you have a plan for if some family members maybe want to do things that others aren't into. Totally fine. You just need to make sure that you've planned it, so if you have a group that wants to go do a driving tour of, let's just say, the Ring of Kerry, and you have others that are like, what, I don't really feel into that. Well, then you'll want to stay maybe around Killarney, because that will give the people who don't want to join that day tour plenty of options of things to do. If you're staying someplace rural, then you have to think about, okay, what are these other people going to do? Do we need to drop them somewhere? What does our timing look like? So that all kind of rolls into how you're getting around as well, because those have to be worked out as you're making those transportation plans. The next thing to think about is your accommodations. Now, I know that I love to kind of mix and match accommodations. The only thing I'm really picky about is my first night in Ireland. I just really want a good bed after spending a night in an airplane seat. I want to melt into a great mattress that first night in Ireland. So, accommodations, they might make or break a trip. Some people see it as a place to sleep. So, knowing how your group feels about accommodations is kind of that first step of beginning to make the choice. You know, if you do a self catering, are they okay with sharing a bathroom, and how many people are going to be sharing that bathroom, and what do the bathrooms look like, and are they all full baths, or do you have some half baths? So things like that are something you really need to keep in mind, especially when you're dealing with a group. You also need to think about how often you want your group to switch the accommodations, as well as the local activities and the day trips that are available from each area. So, choosing your accommodations is based on number one, the accommodation, and number two, the location of the accommodation. So when you're thinking about those, you're thinking about the age range of your group. Do toddlers need an afternoon break? Teens and young adults, more active, things to do, less downtime. Maybe you have some people who really want this to be a vacation and not, uh, I had somebody say forced march to me. They just want that relaxation and downtime. So knowing how your accommodations need to be used, the age ranges, and what people, what might be expected with those people, what they need, how they need access to things. So when you're thinking about these, especially for a large group, you might have your heart set on a bed and breakfast. Well, if you have a large group, you may not find a traditional bed and breakfast that is large enough to hold your entire group. If your group wants privacy or you don't want to disturb other guests, you might look at a self catering accommodation as opposed to a hotel. You're obviously not going to have the amenities. You're not going to have somebody making you breakfast. You're not going to have, maybe the pool or the dining options, right? But is that worth giving up for the privacy you're going to have, for the way your family wants to spend their time? Um, if you're looking at all the amenities for a large group that includes breakfast, maybe a leisure center, maybe a spa, then you're going to find that a hotel or a resort is probably going to be your best option. So again, going kind of back to the beginning, is knowing how the people who are traveling, knowing what's important in the accommodations, what's most important to them, what's least important to them, and how can you make everybody happy. um, I think with that, the one thing that I have found in working with groups is that the more people who are involved in the planning, the more chaotic the planning is. So while you don't want to overlook people's preferences or their needs, desires, wants, you also don't want everybody involved in the planning, because if you do that, it won't get planned. I can't tell you how many people I've worked with that after, a short time, they've given up because nobody will agree, because everybody has to have their way. So if you are doing the planning, if this trip is your dream and your idea, know that you're in charge. And while everybody else's opinions matter, they they only matter so much. And I hope that's as I say that, I know that sounds really awful to say, because you want everybody to be happy. But it's that too many cooks in the kitchen. So, one, two, three people doing the bulk of the planning, running it by everybody else, and and you'll still be able to come up with a great trip for everyone. Okay, so I went off topic and on a bit of a tangent, and I hope that didn't hope that didn't rub anybody too wrong. Just what I've seen and experienced in assisting other people. All right, moving on to activities in Ireland. So once you decide how you're going to travel through Ireland and where you're going to stay, Now it's time to plan your activities. And the hardest part, this kind of goes back to my little rant, you can't please everyone. So you're going to get input from the group, but keep the decision making to just a few people. What I recommend is letting each person or family unit within your group list their must-see sites. So have everybody give you the, if I don't see, do, experience this, I won't feel like I've been to Ireland. And then you put them all together in the itinerary creation. So I have an itinerary creation article. Like I said, it's linked in the show notes. And it basically walks you through how to create an itinerary based on those lists. You're going to put everything on a map. You're going to see, what areas are you in the most, what areas have the most suggestions, and you're going to base your trip on that. If you only have one person in your group that wants to go north while everybody else wants to be south, unfortunately, that person may be disappointed that you can't do that. But time is finite. Finances are usually somewhat finite. So just take everything into account, but just know that you can't see and do everything, and you're probably not going to please everyone completely. That said, don't be afraid to let your small groups break off. If you're staying someplace like Dublin, Killarney, Galway, and a group of, maybe one part of your group wants to go golfing and one part of your group wants to go hiking, and a few people in the group just want to hang out and relax, that's okay. Let everybody go off. Let these different factions go off and do what they're going to do. And then you all come back together at the end of the day and you're able to share different stories and different experiences and, kind of bond over those differences as you enjoy dinner, or, maybe you're just sitting in the living room and everybody has a drink and some nibbles. So embrace the differences as well. Embrace those times apart, but don't let the times apart tear apart your trip. Does that make sense? Finally, if you don't want the headache or the hassle of planning your multi-generational family trip, I have a few ways I can help. Hopefully, I haven't turned you off of it with my rambling. But as I mentioned at the beginning, I love helping families plan memory making Ireland vacations. So the first thing I can offer is my custom itinerary creation. I do this for any size of group, and this includes accommodation recommendations, attractions, transportation advice, custom Google Maps, personal tips on where to eat, nearby sites and activities that would be of interest, and answers to all of the travel questions that you have. So to learn more about that, you can visit IrelandFamilyVacations.com/custom. If you're looking for an inclusive driver guide service, so this is somebody who will handle the scheduling, the booking, the driving, then I have worked with and highly recommend Ireland Chauffeur Travel. They will help you plan everything. They'll make bookings for you, they'll get your activities set up. You don't have to worry about driving. They are top notch. Now you can reach them on their website, IrelandChauffeurTravel.com. You can call them on their toll-free US number at 800-329-9138, or you can directly email my personal consultant, Alma, at alma@IrelandChauffeurTravel.com. Now, no matter how you contact them, and I'm happy to contact them for you as well. You can just let me know. But no matter how you contact them, you want to make sure that you use my exclusive code IRFV, because that's going to save 5% on your tour package. So that can end up being a pretty decent chunk of change on some of those packages. So IrelandFamilyVacations.com/ICT. That will take you directly to Ireland Chauffeur Travel, and you can contact them to start those plans. If you are looking for an inclusive self-drive service, so this would be somebody who can help with all of your bookings and everything, including a car rental, then you would want to contact my partners, Celtic Self Drive, because they can help arrange your entire trip, including getting up to a 9-passenger van for you to drive. You can contact them on their website, IrelandFamilyVacations.com/CSD. You can call them on their US number, 312-471-0439, or email Owen, who is my personal contact there, at info at celticselfdrive.com. And you'll want to use code IFV for my exclusive discount there. If you are not sure which option is the best for you, if you go to podcast episode number 236, you can get the pros and cons, cost comparisons, and experiences of hiring a private driver versus renting a car. It's going to give you a great overview of both options. And I also have, if you just would like, my opinion on your own group or trip, you can answer a few quick questions at the link IrelandFamilyVacations.com/car or driver. It's just going to be a really quick form for you to fill out, and it comes straight to me, and I will respond with the option that I think will work best for you, as well as helpful tips for your trip.